even sometimes when I've had friends who've come out and were members of the church, their families and their friends will treat them great to their faces, and kind of whisper about it behind the scenes, and it kind of breaks my heart when I see that.
It's just like honesty. Just be honest.
Yeah, just honesty. And at the same time,
also, you don't want to hurt people.
At the same time, though, yeah, I mean, sometimes it is better to just not say anything. I mean, that's true. Sometimes silence is better. But
you're like, I get it. You don't agree, but
yeah, let's agree to disagree. And you have to be willing to do that. I mean, how can we have a healthy, society if we're not willing to do that sometimes?
Right.
But at the same time, like I've had a lot of good friends of mine who, not a lot, a handful of good friends of mine who are gay, who also did take that journey and look really deep inside of themselves and say, you know what, this is what I believe. I really do believe in the gospel. And so here's how I'm going to deal with it. And there are some I know that really have had a lot of pain in their life because of that. But there are also a lot that are really happy. And that is, I think, incredibly courageous. To be able to say, at my core, this is who I am, even though there's another part of me that, is looking a different direction. This is really what I want to be. And I think that's tough. That would be incredibly hard. I don't know if there's any way I could do it. And thank God that's not an issue that I've had to deal with in my life.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, probably because I must feel differently about it.
Exactly. I mean, but that doesn't mean that person, that their opinion is
right. You can never know fully what's going on in somebody else's life or mind. That's true.
So it's, if people can accept themselves first, then I think it becomes a lot easier to accept other people because you've been through that process already of.
Well, that's the whole thing, and I mean, what I mention at least once in every video is the whole suicide thing. I mean, and that's the whole thing. Why I started, because it made me so angry, like hearing about more suicides. It's because just growing up not being able to accept yourself, or
honestly, I don't know the story.
Yeah. Anyway, they wrote some book, and in it said something to the gist. And again, I haven't read it, but this is what it said. But I remember when we were at BYU hearing, that they were like, well, at least we have comfort in the fact that he didn't commit any homosexual act. But he's dead! And I remember hearing my parents say, this wasn't about a gay issue, but it was about, we had some neighbor or family member or something, that they had a daughter and she used to like to party, and they think that she maybe started drinking alcohol. And she was riding in a car with some people, and they like to listen to rock and roll or whatnot, and they got hit by another car or something, and she died in it, and then and then the parents, they were so upset, but it's so crazy. But then they say, well, we take comfort in the fact there's a reason, God has a reason, and then we have to think about what's that reason. Then they say, well, we think it's because she was headed down a path.
Well,
and so we're at least glad that we think God took her before she could commit any real sins, like get pregnant or get drunk or something. And when you're younger, and
that's just part of that's just human nature, though, Don. Yes, it is human nature.
No.
To try to
reason,
to try to
right,
reason,
and to
try to
yourself.
Understand why something has happened.
When you pick a reason, and I'm just saying, when I was young, to hear things like, well, death. We as parents are happier that they died than that they went through some non-belief, or they went through something that was sinful or different than what we believe.
But there's no way that you or I have any clue what they went through at those moments in their lives, and if that's what helps them to rationalize and get through the death of someone super close, I don't begrudge him.
I've had people die. I mean, no, I get it. I get the loss of somebody. I get that. But I'm just saying, when you're young, because I'm thinking about the suicide thing, when you get a message that it would be better that you were dead, like it would be preferable, like your parents would be happier to hear that you're dead than that you're gay, then you love them, you want to please them, and you don't see, and you're like, this is the one way I have to save them from me.
I think that's tragic.
It's terribly tragic
that anyone would ever feel that way. One of the things that this kind of makes me think about my own kids. I've got 4 kids. My oldest is 11 years old, and more than anything, I want to make sure as a father that he feels comfortable learning for himself and making his own decisions, obviously to a degree. I mean, as a father, it's kind of my job to help set some guidelines and help him to do that. But I would never want him to have a testimony of the church just because I do. Now, if that helps him early on in his life to make some decisions and to understand some things, great. But if at the end of his life he chose to do something or not to do something purely because of how I might react to it, that would be tragic, and that goes to committing suicide as well. I mean, obviously there are grades of tragedy, but I would never want him to do that. And it was interesting. He goes to a really super conservative private school in Utah, and the other day his teacher was talking about how there a lot of people believe that there's evolution, and she said, and this is my opinion, but I don't believe that evolution occurs. And I appreciated that she said that it was her opinion,
right?
But it's kind of crazy, and of course Max speaks up in class and says, no, that's wrong, and he proceeds Max is a really bright kid, and he proceeds to tell her how God used evolution as a tool of creation. And because this is something that I believe, and something that I've talked with him about, and I don't think that it's anti-Christian or anti-religious.
I learned it at BYU and at Rick's College, that point of view too,
and
which gave it credence, because if somebody would have said that they didn't believe in evolution, you would have no. I mean, I just don't see any credence in anything you say.
So, although I know Max was probably not quite as respectful as he probably should have been to his teacher, I was really proud of him for speaking his opinion and speaking his mind and making sure that he got that out there. Now, there's a super fine line that you have to draw in your own mind and your own heart that you just won't cross. Where you say, this is what I believe, this is why I believe it, and you leave it at that. And so, if as a father I can teach him to think for himself, to have strong beliefs and strong opinions, but to also draw that line and be respectful of other people's opinions, even when they may seem ludicrous, that to me would mean that I've been a good father, that I've done the kind of job.
And you should at least, this is also, I think, you should at least respect the person for being a person.
Sure.
And respect the principle of other ideas.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to respect the ideas.
Yeah.
You don't have to respect their ideas. You don't have to respect their religion. I think that's just totally bogus. You don't have to respect
them because they're a human being.
But you respect them because they're a human being. You have that much respect, and you respect the principle of other people having a say and having ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to respect the idea.
Right.
So
yeah. I think that's a really important
Good for Max.
Yes, Max.